Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated, where I'm so excited. Today, I get to speak with one of my favorite actresses ever, Olivia
Oh,
Dabo. So, welcome, Olivia.
welcome. Thank you for having me. This is so exciting.
You know, that's so nice of you to say. That would normally be what I would say, but I really appreciate that. Yeah, thank you for doing this. This is this is going to be.
Yeah, I've been sort of following up on on. It is
Oh, have
going to
you
be
been
fun,
watching?
absolutely. What, pardon?
Have you been listening or watching the show?
I have. I mean, I've been. It's sort of an anomaly. Your show, you know. I know that both you and your son sort of take turns. Doing it,
Yeah.
and the genesis of the show and how it all started is really kind of a fascinating story. And then obviously the fan base and your audience, love it, and understandably they do, because it's
Oh,
cool. It sort of kind of covers the gamut, really, of all the things that I love, and pop culture, so
you know,
um
that was the best thing I've ever heard. I have no further questions.
well, that's
No, that means so much. We started this 3 years ago, and it's been a slow progression. The audience has grown fast, but it's been slow for us to kind of figure out, what we're doing, how to do it well, and
sure.
all that good stuff. And it's very gratifying to hear that somebody's appreciating it. So thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
So I want to start here
Mhm.
because I won't tell, but you and I are the same age. I won't
Mhm.
tell what that is because obviously we look pretty young, so it's going to be tough to figure out. But that just means that I've been a fan of yours for I think your
For a
entire career,
long, long
long time,
time.
long time. So my question is, what made you want to get into the entertainment business? What got you started?
Well, the thing that initially gave me the bug was most definitely seeing my father perform on stage
Yeah,
doing a musical called Gulliver's Travels, which coincidentally he wrote, and he played Gulliver. And both my brother and I were born when he was doing this musical. We're not twins, but my brother's older than me. He was on stage doing it.
yeah,
Subsequently, wasn't no, well, unfortunately wasn't at the birth because he was on stage. But that's show business. I know many people, many actors, their wives are about to give birth and they're in the middle of a take, and
right.
but it's just the way the cookie crumbles. Then, of course, I was born, and then he was doing that show. And then when I was about 6 or 7 years old, and I'd been studying at the Royal Ballet,
Oh, nice.
and I was at a school called the Lycée Français. This is in London.
Yeah,
Um, my grandmother took me and some friends of mine to see my father on stage in the performance of Gulliver's Travels for his third time. And they did this thing in theatre where they call it breaking down the fourth wall. And he came out of the aisles as Gulliver with his lapels and, sort of period looking, knickerbockers
how
and
neat.
ruffled shirt. And he was shining an apple on his lapel. And I just got out of my seat because to me, it was just my dad. So I was like, "All right, Daddy, I'm coming on stage with you. Here I'm coming up the steps and I'm following you. And oh, look at all these lovely people. Ah, what are we going to do now?" He's just like, "Olivia, darling, sit down. We're doing a performance. Now I'm doing a performance. I'll bring you up when the show's over, but you must go and sit in your seat, and I'll wave at you when I'm up here. But I sit down in your seat, Olivia." So, but I mean, I looked out at this audience, and there was just this feeling that I got of um,
Yeah,
it was some kind of godlike energetic thing where I got so much back just immediately, just from seeing all of these faces, and obviously being next to my dad, I felt comfortable on stage. then I went back and I sat and watched this whole performance, and I just fell in love. I just thought it was incredible to see and to know somebody who I had known as my father acting out this character and singing these amazing songs about the Lilliputians, and that he was this larger than life character. So immediately I was very taken with fantasy, which sort of has led me since then to embarking upon a lot of projects that are of that ilk. My first performance was at the Albert Hall with the Royal Ballet. I did a show called Me and My Teddy Bear, and it was just a bunch of little girls basically dancing around with their teddy bears, and so that was pretty epic, those two things. Awesome. And then by the time we moved to New Mexico, Taos, New Mexico, which was a place where Georgia O'Keeffe lived, and you know, some incredible artists, Michael Murphy as a musician who actually brought us to Taos because he and my dad were really good friends and writing songs together. Wow. You know, he wrote that beautiful song Wildfire, which you may know. And so it's because of him that we moved to Taos. And then when I was in Taos, I got a real sensibility of everything truly and most beautifully Americana, you know, the sort of melting pot of American Indians, you know, that was their land and their pueblo, and the conquistador Spanish culture that is you know, indigenous for New Mexico. It's not Mexican, though a lot of people think it is. So the blend of those two things really gave me this sense of a bohemian spirit that I feel like I was very much then able to take into playing Karen on the Wonder Years. You know, it's funny how these experiences in our lives set us up for our destiny and opportunities that come our way that we know we can take them on because we have that we've got that structure embedded already in us.
Yeah, for sure. So your character on the Wonder Years, did you take your experience and kind of adapt that character to your experiences, or did it just so happen that that character was written in a way that it took advantage of some of the things that you grew up with?
I think it was a little of both. I mean, I didn't know much about the 60s, but incidentally, when I moved to New Mexico, it was the late 70s, and there were people like Dennis Hopper who had a house there, and, you know, Neil Young and Dean Stockwell and Russ Tamblyn, and all these really cool kind of people who had been part of either Easy Rider or were on the scene musically. Some of those people I mentioned, like I think we used Neil Young's music in the Wonder Years. But I think meeting those people, I got this sensibility of what the residue that was left over from the Easy Rider days and the 60s that really kind of stuck with me. And also, you know, just organically, I'm very much a free spirit anyway. So I think it tapped into my personality and things that I have been able to explore through who I am.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. And I know you've it wasn't just your dad, you've got a very entertainment kind of based family.
Yes.
Yeah,
I do.
Which is really interesting.
My mom was in Stanley Kubrick's film 2001 Space Odyssey, and she had the first line. So that's really super cool. And
that's awesome.
You know, she was a sort of a petite size model in the 60s, you know, up there with Shrimpton and Twiggy, and she was sort of Vidal Sassoon's first model because she had a very small face, very high cheekbones, and it was wonderful to cut wigs on her because of her petite head.
Yeah.
And she and Vidal sort of were a couple for about 5 years, and just amazing stories of meeting Dusty Springfield and teaching her how to roll up her eyelashes on a pencil. You know, my mum would tell me stories like that, you know, because Dusty kind of needed a new look. And so Vidal cut her hair, and my mum, you know, sort of in a way indoctrinated her into, really that look of being a lady, which she always was anyway, but just sort of putting the right aesthetic to her personality.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it was an amazing thing. They were a great couple, my mom and dad, and very well matched creatively. And she also did A Hard Day's Night, which was really super cool because that's sort of another classic film.
Oh my gosh. I know she's been in some of the best. I mean, like for a kind of nerdy,
much more successful movies than I have. So yeah, absolutely.
Do you think her being in 2001, did that influence you at all? Because you've done a lot of sci-fi fantasy type projects.
Yeah, the outfit that I wore playing True Q was so similar to the outfit that my mom wore in 2001 Space Odyssey. I mean, it was pink, and I think the only difference is that, in Star Trek, they were very, conservative about the way they dressed women. And, because they're on a spaceship and it's science fiction and all that. But my mom had really good legs, which is one of the reasons that Stanley Kubrick hired her, because, he had that wonderful opening shot with her, the doors opening, and you just sort of see her legs, and she has that first line in the movie. So that's kind of iconic, really.
Yeah, it totally is. Yeah, it's very memorable. Yeah, that's so great. And I wanted to ask you about, you brought up Star Trek, I think True Q, if I remember right, it was in the 6th season, Next Generation. But you just did a project that had like all the Star Trek people.
Yes. Tell
me about that one.
So yeah, it was basically, I think you're talking about
let's see, it's Unbelievable is the name.
Yes. That did have a lot of Star Trek cast. I didn't work with all of them. I just had kind of a couple of scenes actually playing the Three Stooges, the female Three Stooges, and then our characters sort of humanly combust, and we have our space helmets on and everything. It's kind of a mad movie, but talk about a movie that takes a long time to make it. I mean, they just kept adding cast members,
Yeah, that's why I was reading through the cast, and I mean, everybody in it, especially if you're kind of a geeky type of person, you'll recognize every name in it.
And Snoop Dogg has never appeared on Star Trek as far as I know, but he was added, and I thought that was kind of a cool addition,
He should have been on Star Trek, though.
He absolutely. I mean, I think they should just put him in the new show and be done with it.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
It would be amazing. He could just. The thing about him is you can put him anywhere in anything, and he can just either play himself or, some form of, whatever. He's always Snoop Dogg. He's kind of like a movie star in that way, where you always know that you're going to get him.
Right. Yeah. But he always seems to fit whatever he's doing.
Well, like if you put him in a show with Martha Stewart, which I saw him in recently, and they're cooking together. I mean, it's the most hilarious thing, because she's like, "Now, Snoop, I'm making a little Grand Marnier here with some dumplings, and I would love you to just," he's like, "Yeah, man, put in some weed, Martha. Let's put in some weed. And, we'll roll it this way." She's like, "Well, Snoop, you're going to get me high. I'm not sure that's allowed on the show, but hey, why not? Here we go. Bottoms up, baby," But
spot on impressions.
I completely digressed from your question, but anyway, that was fun.
Yeah, that's so great. So I saw you in the theater when I was a teenager, and you were playing opposite Arnold in Conan. I think it was the second one. It was the second.
Yes, it was. Yes.
But you were a princess, which was, I think, one of your earliest roles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's a pretty great role to get started on.
Oh, it was amazing for so many reasons. First and foremost, getting to work with Richard Fleischer, who, you know, had done Solid Green, and Jack Cardiff, who'd done this, you know, The African Queen with
Yeah.
Humphrey Bogart and
Wow.
Katharine Hepburn. So, you know, you put those two guys together, I mean, it just doesn't get any better in terms
No.
of creating great cinema that's going to last and stand the test of time, which, you know, it has. And, you know, mixing it up with Grace Jones and Arnold
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger and Wilt Chamberlain and,
What a fun
you know,
cast.
Marco and Tracy Walters, Sarah Douglas, all of them. I mean, you know, I was 14 and had my 15th birthday toward the latter part of the movie. So Arnold very kindly threw a birthday party for me up in the hills with horses, the horses that we'd been riding for the entire time that we were doing the movie, right? So, you know, I just thought I was going for a drive with my mom, and then suddenly we parked and I saw this like truck with, you know, horse tails coming out of it. And Arnold's like, well, Olivia, happy birthday. I've got some great hot blue boots for you. And we're going to go riding now. That's going to be such a great time. And he goes, and the whole cast are here. Everybody's here to support you. And, you know, Grace shows up and everybody. And so it was like on a Sunday, and it was just, we just went for a beautiful ride in the mountains. But on a professional note, I hadn't studied acting. I hadn't gone to acting school when I'd done that film. I'd done a lot of theater. So it was a great role to have. And it was an amazing learning process for me. And especially, I think, because of the locations and the fact that it was a journey movie and I was playing, you know, ostensibly an omnipotent character, you know, who's quite clairvoyant, and so she goes where she feels herself led. Not unlike True Q, you know, who's also omnipotent. So yeah, I just went with my intuition, and I had some incredible actors supporting me, and a great director, and the writing was wonderful. It really was like being back in Samaria, you know, on this journeys, and all of the locations that they chose in the middle of a volcano, you know, where I get, you know, sort of picked up by a clawed, you know, god bird, and we did all that stuff, green screen, CGI, when, you know, I was actually in a harness. That was actually really, really fun. But yeah, it really was just like a big dream, that movie, you know. It was very rhapsodical, and I had always wanted to play a princess. I used to draw them as a kid, non-stop. In fact, we had a nanny called Marianique, and I said, oh, you know, Mommy and Daddy, please don't let her go. Let her be our nanny forever and ever, because she was so artistic, and she'd draw these princesses, and she taught me how to draw them. And it's kind of like, it's just funny how art imitates life, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Have you run into Arnold since you made that movie?
Yeah, I have several instances. He down in Venice quite a lot, because he's sort of lives down there, and whenever I have, it's just always fun and laughs, and, you know, he has a very specific sense of humor, where he's always trying to kind of, he loves getting people who are gullible, that will fall for it. And at 14, I sure did, but you know what? Not anymore.
That's right. You've learned.
Once I became a woman, it was like, okay, Arnold, yeah, I see this one coming like a mile away.
That's right.
But I'll play along with you if that makes you happy.
So around that same time, you did the movie with Bo Derek, Bolero, which I also saw as a teenager. Different reason for going to the movie, but that had to be interesting too, because at that time, I mean, Bo Derek was about as big as it got.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I actually did that film first.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, and even though it came out after Conan.
Yeah.
But that was also a journey movie. I mean, my mom and my brother and I went to Spain for about 6 months, and
Wow.
it was, an incredible, experience of being around horses and incredible Spanish towns, and getting to know the world of toreadors and bullfighting, which I wasn't a big fan of that. It was hard for me to watch. I went to my first bullfight when I got there, and I said, "Mum, I have to leave because it's just too gory for me."
Upsetting, yeah.
I love animals, so
Yeah.
yeah. Way, and because she was a Spanish gypsy, who was becoming a woman and was in love. She had a big crush on the main character that Bo Derek did also. And then that was the sort of the tension between them, is she thought, with that Spanish hot-headed blood, that he's mine. He's going to be mine. I'm a woman and he's going to be mine, when I become a woman. And she's like, "No, Paloma, that's not how it works." And I'm like, "What do you mean? He's mine." And it was really rather sweet. It was like a blooming of a prepubescent girl turning into a woman and her first crush. And so I just kind of went with that. Again, I wasn't trained. That was my first film, but an amazing experience working with John and George Kennedy and Obregon and Bo. And I was discovered by a talent scout on the beach in Marina del Rey when I was about 13.
Really?
I was body surfing, and I was there with my brother, and there was this very interesting French woman called Claudia Albuquerque, who was kind of sitting there staring at me as I was body surfing. She goes, "Come over here." She said, "I'm very good friends with John and Bo, and they're looking for a gypsy to be in this new movie that Bo's doing called Bolero. And if we put a rinse on your hair, I think you can look very Spanish and you can do this role. I can feel it. I want you to come and meet them." And it was like it just sort of dropped out of the sky. I'd done some commercials. I'd been doing lots of theater, but again, very early on in my career, I sort of started drawing these experiences to me, and I don't necessarily know if that happens. I hope it still happens because it's a lot of fun. But eventually, what happened after Conan is I really felt strongly about getting into school and studying, and I went to Lee Strasberg and learned how to be an orange in a corner for 2 hours, which is like one of their exercises that I will never really understand how it's necessarily needed to be applicable to acting, but they think it isn't. And anyway, I learned a lot from that. And then I just sort of started studying, and, one job led to another. I did those 2 films, then I did a lot of episodic TV, and then I did Growing Pains, which is what introduced me to Neil Black and Carol Mullins. And it's just interesting to think that they're the same creators who created Growing Pains that then did The Wonder Years. I mean, it's just such diversity.
That's what kind of brought you to their attention.
Was Growing Pains. And I think having done the 2 different roles, as did Dan Lauria, he did 2 different, completely different roles. And so that's always good for an actor when they can see your versatility. So then they have more confidence bringing you in the room and going, we're thinking she's our number 1 choice. So it
doesn't hurt to have a little bit of an edge when you go in.
Yeah.
Oh, so do you still body surf?
Yeah, I do. I wish I'd taken up surfing, but I just preferred the feeling of body surfing. It was a little less scary for me, and it's just as fun as surfing. I think you just don't stand up.
I've always said that if there was a body surfing Olympics, I could be a gold medalist.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
I'll tell you a quick story. This is a quick body surfing story.
Okay.
Because I've always prided myself on being this really great body surfer, which is kind of ridiculous because nobody cares. But I'm body surfing at the beach, and I catch this wave. I'm under the, right under the water. I catch this wave, and I'm thinking I am going faster than anyone has ever went before. I'm like, it's like a bullet out of a gun. I just, and then I hit something. Hard. And I'm thinking I'm under the water, and it hurt me, but I'm thinking I've killed somebody. I have just clobbered somebody. So I come up out of the water, and I had hit my wife. She was standing there, and I hit her just right in the stomach. I just ran into her stomach, but it knocked all the air out of her. She had the snot coming out of her nose, and just totally wiped her out.
Oh my God.
For some reason, though, she stuck with me. She doesn't get near me when I'm in the water now, but stuck with me.
Yeah, she's got post-traumatic stress, basically, from, being hit in the nose. Yeah. Oh, poor, well, that's quite a story. I mean, and good for you for getting back in the water, or getting back on the horse, as they say.
That's right. You have to jump back in.
You really do. Yeah, you do. You really do.
Like I said, she doesn't come anywhere near me now, but.
What about your son? Does he come near you?
He does. So we have, we've taught all the kids. My brother that was something me and my brother did growing up. So all his kids, and we've got some pretty cool pictures where it'll have 8 or 10 of us lined up in a wave where you can kind of see us, body surfing together. So it's a family thing.
That's so great. That's wonderful. And it's wonderful to do something that active together,
That is, for sure.
Yeah.
So I have to bring up, so Black Widow just came out.
Yes.
But I wanted to point out that I have. It's excellent. It's so good. Okay. Have you seen it?
I've not seen it yet, but I'm very much looking forward to seeing it, because obviously I have an affinity with her.
Well, yeah, that's what I wanted to point out. You were Black Widow way before Scarlet was Black Widow.
Oh, you're so sweet.
I thought it would have been. They should have had you in there as a cameo. They had so many different girls playing, Black or widows or whatever. They could have had you in there.
Hey, well, you know what? Make the call. Maybe there'll be a sequel.
I know. Who do I need? Yeah, who do I need to call? Because that's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and it's because Scarlett's not doing it with a Russian accent, is she? Is she playing it? Okay.
No. Now her younger sister in the movie has a Russian accent.
Okay.
But Scarlett doesn't. So supposedly she kind of grew out of it.
Got it. Okay. That makes
sense. Yeah, so we watched Ultimate Avengers, Brett and I, obviously.
You did? Oh, cool.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I would think
and
so.
Loved your Black Widow.
Thank you so much. I loved playing her, and she's such a badass woman and character, and clearly, is just so huge and iconic in the Marvel world and all the Marvel movies. So just being affiliated with that in that regard has been a real honor. And she's just she's a great character. I mean, I've had the opportunity to play strong women, a lot of strong women both in my animation career and in my on camera career. And it's always a wonderful thing to portray, a woman with great intelligence and wisdom, and who can kick someone's bum if needed, if they mess with them, or usually a lot of the characters that I play are very protective of their people they love, which is very much me. As Olivia, I get very protective of those I love, like a mama bear. So I identify a lot with Morgan Le Fay, even though she's kind of foreseen as being evil, but she's a mother, and so there's a kind of twist. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I love about these animation characters, is it gives us actors, whether we be just voice actors or actors. I mean, I just call us all actors because we're basically doing the same thing. I mean, I think any voice actor could probably go in and kill any on-screen stuff as well, because it makes you a better actor to do voiceover, because you're approaching the character from an audio perspective, meaning you have to get the totality and the whole embodiment of the character in through the voice. So it's a different key in to creating a character. And I think if you can then transfer that over into something on screen, it just gives you that much more. Not only just your choices become, because through voice acting you come in with even stronger choices, because it's all got to come through the voice. So then it links up with the body posture and all of that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah. Did you, going into the Avengers, did you already have kind of a Russian accent that you were ready to use, or did you have to come up with one?
No, I auditioned for that, and I just tried this Russian accent, and it wanted to. They just had me audition with it, and it was like very, it was natural for me to do it and to turn it on. Luckily,
see, totally could have had you in the movie.
Oh my gosh, I know good. It's.
So you've had the best voice acting roles. So you mentioned your stint on some of the Justice League stuff. You got to do Carol, that turns into Star Sapphire, I think. And
wasn't that cool? That the dichotomy of Carol Farris, who's a sort of much more conventional character, kind of all American, kind of keeping a tight ship and making sure that, and then her turning into, this, so like a 2-in-1 is what we call it in Cockney terms. Yeah, you got a bit of a 2-in-1 there, didn't you? Yeah. So.
Love it. So you also got to play Jane in some of the Disney stuff, the Tarzan.
Yes.
And Jane. I think there was a movie and then a TV show, right?
There was a movie, yes, and I didn't do the voice of Jane in the movie. It was another wonderful actress, and her name escapes me right now, but I actually got that film because it was Disney, through another Disney movie that I did, where I was terribly English. It's sort of a Mary Poppins type of character called Big Green, which was very popular, still is, with millennials, who are like now 30. And
yeah, the kids, like my oldest is 26, and she still loves that movie.
Yeah. I mean, my little brother and sister just watched it, who are 13, if you can believe it or not. My father's a musician, so yeah. The sperm keeps traveling.
Yeah, I know.
But anyway, I showed it to them, and they loved it. It's just a feel-good movie, and it's a movie for underdogs. So that's always nice to be left with a bit of a message, like the Wonder Years does. So that's what got me the job of Tarzan and Jane. I had to still audition for it, but they thought that I was really right for it, because she was not unlike the character of Anna Montgomery that I played in The Big Green, Yeah. But I mean, like, much more sort of, oh, Tarzan, he's going up and down the tree, and the gorilla's coming now. Oh, we must jump over the palm tree. And she's, I mean, always a lot of energy required for Jane,
You've got the best voices. Best.
Thank you so much.
So I mentioned you should have had a cameo in Black Widow, but you did get a cameo in the Star Wars movie, right? Rise of Skywalker. You at least got the voice cameo.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, and that was your character from the Clone Wars, which is like a Jedi Master.
Luminara Unduli.
Luminara.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was pretty great. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was incredible. to work on that and to go to the Star Wars fort in Los Angeles that's in Santa Monica, and you walk in and there's all of the the memorabilia of anything that is Star Wars, and it was just kind of incredible, and then they had like a grill and a restaurant set up as soon as you walk in, where you can kind of go and order whatever you want. And that was really, really great to have brought in, I think, the characters from Clone Wars, that to just come in and support the lead character. It was a really great idea.
I think that's terrific. Were you a Star Wars fan before you got the role?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I both a Star Trek and a Star Wars fan,
Me
is
too.
why I was even more. Yeah. I mean, I loved.
I keep telling people you can be both. A lot of times you have that the fans of each kind of battle a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I never like to kind of choose, because it's always just too difficult. There's things that they're just they really are equal to me. There's an equal playing field on the genius of what they're able to come up with consistently, and just continue to churn it out. So
it's pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty amazing. So your character had a rough ending. She got caught up in Order 66.
Yes, she did.
She didn't make it, and then they used her. They pretended she was still alive to lure in other, Jedis to kind of trap them. So they used her to trap people after she was already dead, and that's not right. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it was totally unprecedented, in my opinion. I just kind of came out of, poor Luminara. She just didn't know what had hit her. And talk about deceit.
I know, but you
right?
What a great role.
The scarring for that poor woman. I know. But she's so strong, and God knows how old she really is. She's probably probably 1,000 years old.
Probably.
That she just. I always get to play these characters. I think it's because it's television, or perhaps because it's wrapped up in fantasy, where you think they're dead and then they come back, and that has something to do with their wisdom, or their ability to reinvent themselves. Whether it's Nicole Wallace from Law and Order, who's
oh my gosh, we haven't even talked about her. She is terrifying.
Yes, but charming. But charming. But that kind of made her more not the
terrifying.
Kind of girl you want to bring home to mama.
No, or anybody else. You don't want to bring her home at all.
No, you do not. She's rather she's got some problems. Let's say.
You got to play her on another show too, right?
I did. Yes, I got to reprise the role, which is kind of a rare opportunity, because
that's so cool.
Yeah, because she, Dick Wolf's shows are so, built in and legally, you're not supposed to do that. But Renee Balsamer, who kind of created Nicole Wallace and was a writer on the show, was the main writer when he did the show with John Renaud. I think because he'd created Nicole Wallace legally, the camaraderie, I think, between Dick Wolf and Renee had been so... it was so stellar that I think it was fine to do without, getting anybody into trouble or offending anyone.
It seemed like we used to have more of that, where you'd see, kind of that cooperation between shows. We need more of that. That's the fun stuff.
Absolutely. And I think for the most part, I find, especially with that character, fans, one has to listen to the fans and give the fans what they need. And sometimes when you kill characters off, that fans get really, they get very attached to a show and or the characters that the actors are playing. And once the storyline has been set up, in their mind's eye, we all envision it being the way that we see it going.
That's
a lot of people wanted Goran and Nicole to have a romance, and for Nicole to become to go on the good side of the tracks and team up with Goran and help him, fight crimes, because she could have been very beneficial.
Oh, she'd been good, yeah.
But the other aspect about TV, especially if a show is like sometimes coming to a closure, or somebody else comes in, a new showrunner, what have you, or the new person at a network, 9 times out of 10, when you have sort of disappointing endings or going out of a character, it's usually people are like, why wasn't it more well thought out? Well, probably they might have been in a rush, or
they switched showrunners.
Yeah, they did the best they could to honor it.
Is she still around technically, or did she meet her demise there at the end?
With John Renault, in the show with John Renault that I did.
Yeah.
I think she's.
It's been a while, but she's still out there, right?
She's still out there. I think
she could come back. We could see her again,
based on the fact that yes, we could, and listen, she's the kind of character that you can run with, and there's no beginning, middle, or end. It's just she's sort of like a Morgan Le Fay, or she's a bit of a sorceress, really, isn't she? And so she's kind of magical, maybe. It just depends on, it would have to be a well-written show, because she's such a smart. She's so ahead of everybody else, because she's like a shark. She keeps swimming.
That's right.
And her mind.
I know she was a great character, terrifying, but charming and terrific.
Yes.
So I know we're getting close to the end, but I got a couple of quick things.
Yes.
So
shoot.
my daughter and I were big Eureka fans, and you you got to play the sheriff's ex-wife in
Abby Carter. Yes.
Yeah, which was really cool. You were so good in that.
Thank you.
That was a nice surprise when you showed up.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I had a great time shooting that, and being up in Vancouver, and that part of the country, the north, like up near Seattle, where all those, and Portland and Oregon, where a lot of those sort of scientists kind of brilliant people live, and inventors, and they really are up there, and I just loved all the special effects on that show. And coming in on a show where you're doing kind of a couple of shows, it can sometimes be a little bit awkward, because you're not, I'm playing the mother of the girl and the ex of the sheriff, and my first scene was going and picking her up from school, and she sort of wasn't expecting me to be, so I just kind of went with the awkwardness of what was organically built up with the characters, that I hadn't seen my daughter in quite some time, and there's still some tension between the husband, the father, but there's a lot of love there, and we work it out, and it was fun. Yes. I learned a lot and met a lot of really wonderful actors, and the crew were amazing.
Yeah, we love that show. It was good. It was a good show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. So
sci-fi. It's still in the realm of sci-fi.
It's definitely sci-fi.
Yeah.
For sure. So we're kind of in that, time where all the old stuff, Frasier's getting ready to come back.
Is it really?
It is.
That's wonderful.
I know.
Incredible.
So what about the Wonder Years?
Well, the Wonder Years is back on television. It's a wonderful African-American cast. Don Cheadle is narrating it, and I don't know if you've seen the trailer, but they're shooting it in the South, and Fred is directing it, and Neil Mullins is all Neil and Carol Mullins are all they're part of
I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, because Fred's such a good director. He's a great actor.
He's tremendous. He really is.
There you go. There's another one we need you to have a cameo in.
I very well might show up in that one.
Yeah. That's so terrific. So you just finished or have been working on a movie called Bandit.
Yes.
Right. So we had our good friend on, Nestor Carbonell.
Oh, I love Nestor.
Yes, he's the best, and you got to work with him.
I
Yeah.
did. I got to work with him for a couple of days, you know, in the bar scene, you know, the strip bar that Mel, who I play his wife in it, and he's sort of a loan shark, you know, ex-boxer, and Josh Duhamel plays, you know, the Bandit, this
Yeah, it's a good
incredible
cast.
character. It's an amazing cast,
Yeah.
and just it's just so well written. You know, Gold Rush Productions are doing it, and you know, you know, they're, I think it's already going to Cannes to, you know, get distribution. So
Yes.
there'll be, I have a good feeling that it will have
Well, that
it
was
will
my
get a
next question was when can we
great
expect it?
exposure. Hard to say, but based on the momentum behind the film and the cast, and it's already built a sort of fireball of you know, people being anxious to
Yeah.
see it, and the fact that it's a true story, of course,
Right.
is that much more. I mean, I think it's interesting the kind of content that's out there now after COVID, and what the world wants to see, you know.
Yeah.
It's changed slightly, and you just, you were alluding to it yourself, that nostalgia is very much stuff that people
Yeah.
want to go back to, or recreation of nostalgia. Definitely period films. So this was set in 1984, and it's this true story about you know, a guy who gets out of jail. He meets the love of his life, and they're about to have a baby. He doesn't have any money, and so he's, you know, trying to kind of come up with ideas of how to make a lot of money. And
Yeah.
he's very charming, and he's kind of Machiavellian, and he, you know, he finds these disguises, and he starts robbing these banks. And I think he, in 1984, I think he came off with about 3.5 million or something
Wow.
from robbing banks. And you know, it was like a rush. I actually got to meet the real man, you
Oh,
know,
you
while
did?
working. And I served him a drink at the bar, because I play the matriarchal bartender who's married to Mel, and we run this business together. And it's a somewhat of a corrupt business. It's a little along the lines of Goodfellas, but a lot of fun nonetheless. A great atmosphere, and so anyway, I think that people will really take to this story because it's a true story, and it's from the past, but it's, you know, been adapted to
Yeah. I'm
for
excited to
today.
see it.
Yeah, it
And
was
I'm real
great to
excited.
go back into the 80s with the whole big hair thing and shoulder pads, and
Yeah.
I looked like a bit of a biker chick, actually. My
So
wardrobe's
did you, I was gonna say, did you just have to go back into the closet, you know, and dig out the old stuff, or did they actually, you know, have to find stuff for you?
I brought some stuff. They had some stuff. There was one jacket I actually couldn't get out of, that they had to zip me up the back. It was, oh, they're like, we're waiting for her. It's like, well, we can't get her out of costume. But, you know, we can't work miracles. And they're like, well, just cut it. Cut the jacket. It's leather. What do you mean cut it? Just cut it up the back. You know, so it was
The
like, I finally got out of this jacket, and
That's
I had
hilarious.
like 5 wardrobe changes, so I was sort of changing back and forth. But anyway, yeah, it was a lot of fun. The wardrobe was fun. Great crew, shooting in Georgia and working with Nestor and Mel, and who's
So
like an
you
icon.
should have called me, but only if you needed like parachute pants and chest king, you know, chest king jackets. I had
Okay,
plenty of those in the back of
yeah,
the closet.
okay. Well, I'll keep that in mind for my next possible 80s film.
Before you go, I gotta at least mention you are such a talented musician as well,
Mhm.
and I wanted to ask you about that. You know, are you working on anything new as far as
Yes, actually,
musically?
I'm
Yeah,
working on my next album as we speak, and it's sounding so amazing. It's basically thematically, I'm making kind of a prog rock album, because, and I
ooh,
say prog because, you know, not unlike all the stuff that we're talking about that's nostalgic. I think
yeah,
for me, what I miss musically is theme albums that, you know, the kind of albums that Genesis used to make, or Yes,
yeah,
or, you know, classic rock albums, or you see, because there's no limitations. If you open it up to a theme album, then you can kind of like take the sort of content that I'm writing, which is like 1930s torch songs that I'm channeling from somewhere, to
Awesome.
kind of Gaelic, English, Brit folk, to
That's some range.
to R&B, soul, you know, and so thematically, I won't give too much away, but it's a woman's time travel backwards through time, through the
I
Harlem
love that.
Renaissance and Babylon, and you know, all the way back to just being an embryo, basically.
Oh yeah, you got it. When is that coming out? I have to get that.
Next year.
That's
So
exciting.
I
Are
will
you
keep you
playing any
posted.
instruments as
I'm
well?
playing all, yeah, I'm playing all piano on it, on all of my tracks. The first time we take a new song, we just lay them down on piano, and so that, you know, it's got my rhythm, and
Oh my
I'll
gosh.
sing the songs as I'm playing them, or we'll just do a clean take. I also play guitar on it, but my producer is amazing. He's his right hand guys, and he's sort of been trained by Hans, so he plays every instrument under the sun. It's
Wow.
amazing, from, you know, the banjo to these amazing Indian sort of, you know, instruments, and classically trained, amazing on the guitar. Gypsy jazz, some of this stuff we're doing
Ooh,
is gypsy jazz,
I
which is
like
so
that.
cool because it's world music, and so it's kind of like a revolutionary time for artists, I think. uh, After COVID, you know, it's sort of like, what do we want to say now? You know, I'm sure
Yes. Yeah.
you with yourself feels that way. It's like, you know, what moves you now to do this show, and what kind of guests to have to speak about content that you know, that moves you, that you feel the world wants to tap into, you know. And so it's an exciting time, I think, for music, for art, for acting, for writing, um, you know, for everyone, not just people who are artistic. I think we're going through a massive evolution and healing, and
Yeah. I love that. And you have to come back when that's getting ready to come out. That's amazing.
I'd love to. I'd love
Yeah,
to.
you
You know,
have to. That's the best.
yeah. Have you heard my album, Not TV?
I have. Yeah,
Oh,
that's what I
okay.
said. You're so talented. I when I first heard it, that was what I had said. I was like, well, that sounds like Olivia Dabo, and and Brett said, Dad, that is her.
Oh my gosh,
I was like, no
that's
way.
crazy. So, so,
Yeah,
so, so
you're so talented.
oh, bless you. Well, you know, I really try and embellish. I really try and I've been lucky and fortunate enough to be given the gifts that I have, and I think that you have to use them, and it's not your job to keep them to yourself. You have to put them
Yeah.
out into the world, you know, otherwise God gets very upset with us,
That's
and
right. You can't keep
he'll
that to
take them
yourself.
away. He'll take them away if you don't use them or give them to somebody
That's
else.
that's probably what happened to me. I just took too long to use them. He took them all away.
Oh no, you're gleaming and glowing with gifts.
So Olivia, thank you so much. You've done and been in so many great things. It's hard to get to all of it in an hour. We got to do it
Yeah.
again.
Well, let's do it again.
We have to. We have to.
Whenever you want. I'm about to shoot a pilot. I'm very excited about that. I quickly want to plug, called
Yeah, that was what I was going to ask you. Is
it's
what are
called
you working on currently that we can kind of keep an
um
eye out for?
okay, well, let's see. I have a film coming out with Danny Houston and Stephen Dorff, which
Nice.
probably will be coming out this year, and it's still untitled, but it will be announced, you know, on IMBD soon.
Oh, cool.
And another so this TV show that I'm doing, that I'm starting on Friday, is called Queer Talk, and it's basically like a Sex in the City for men.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, and
What is that going to be on?
you know, it's going to be on a streaming channel,
Okay,
possibly Hulu, something like that. But
just keep an eye out for that.
it's a very um, contemporary show, really, that is just going to be really fun, and I think it's going to expose a lot of great and important subject matters for the LGBTQ community.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I can't wait for that one. We'll definitely keep an eye out for that. You're so busy.
I like being busy, but I'm very but I'm very, very blessed. I am blessed, and I have much gratitude for the opportunities that keep coming my way, and
Yes.
and I'm yes, very blessed, very happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you should be for sure. For sure. So last thing, Olivia, before you get, well, I'm lying. I've got two quick ones, but can you tell us where we can find you on social media?
Oh, absolutely. So I have a Twitter page, and my Instagram is, hold on a second. It's
I found you on there.
oh, okay. So
Yeah.
it's Olivia. It's Olivia Darbo, and it's a picture of you. You'll know that it's me. I know there's a few other Olivia Darbos, but I'm not certified yet. I'm in the midst of getting certified, which is imperative, I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm an Olivia Darbo, and the most recent picture on there is, a picture of me with a blue dress and a kind of swanky looking red wrap.
Yeah, I saw that.
Pig red
that
wrap.
came in my feed.
And then on Twitter, I'm Olivia Darbo Twitter. So that's did you find me on Twitter?
I did.
Okay.
Did. Yeah, you come up really easy when you're searching.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
not a problem. So, where do we find your music at?
Well, I'm going to be probably selling it on iTunes. Well, probably on iTunes and Amazon.
Yeah.
You can get it, or you can get the Not TV album on cdbaby.com, but you can also listen to some of my music on my website, which is www.oliviadarbo.net, and I'm constantly updating my website, so you just go to the latest news
You've
section.
got a good website.
Thank you. So
that's not easy. That's not easy.
I know it's not easy, and it's challenging also when you do more than one thing artistically.
Yeah.
But what's great about it is to continue to make it more and more cohesive, so that it's clear where you go to immediately to gain knowledge or get news or see clips of whatever I've just done.
That's where Brett was playing your music from, but he didn't tell me that. He didn't tell me that's what he was on, but that's where he was playing. I was like, oh,
that's so cool.
He was impressed that I knew. Like, I was like, that sounds like, and so he was impressed with that.
So you knew that it was me because you'd heard me sing before, or you knew that it was me because my voice work? Is that
well?
maybe?
So I mean, like I said, I've been a fan for a long time. I have heard you sing before, but yeah, just your voice. That, to me, I was like, that sounds like Olivia Darbo. Of course, I also knew you were coming on the show, so that may have had a little something to do with it. But I was pretty pleased with myself. I was like, yeah, it sounds like her.
I'm pretty pleased with you too.
All right, so last thing, this one's just for me. So in your best Black Widow voice, can you say you're listening to Too Opinionated?
Yes. Do you want me to do it now?
Yeah, do it now.
Okay. You are listening to Too Opinionated. Please tune in every time the show is on. If you miss it, it will be your loss.
That was so much better than what I came up with.
I'm glad. I love improv.
Yeah, that was the best. Okay, Olivia, hold on one second. I'm going to hit pause. This meeting is Listen, I was a huge fan of Olivia's before the interview. But now that I've spent close to an hour and a half talking with her, the best. Oh my gosh. Absolutely one of my favorite people that I've ever met. She is terrific. And literally, she has done so much There was no way I was going to get. I was trying, and it's difficult because when I and you guys know that have watched the show, when I get somebody that I'm like a monster fan of, I got to control it a little bit. So I get a little nervous, so hopefully I did okay, but I was trying to get to as much as I can, but there's so much. Like I didn't get to talk to her about Point of No Return. I absolutely loved her in that. I'm so glad we got to talk about some of the musical stuff, because I know she did some background vocals for Julian Lennon at one time back in the 90s, which is terrific. The stuff with her mom and Hard Day's Night. Wow. Her cousin was an actress in a James Bond movie. And I know that her and Olivia lived together for a while. I didn't get to bring that up. So there was just Wayne's World. She made an appearance in Wayne's World. I think it was Wayne's World 2. So there was so much I didn't get to talk about. And we could have done a whole episode on the Wonder Years. She was amazing in that. But that was great. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining us week after week. I don't take it for granted. Please, if you haven't done so yet, do us a favor. Go to YouTube, MeisterCon Pod. Give us a like and a subscription. We'd appreciate that so much. You can go to our website, meistercon.com. There's 260 or so episodes on there, audio and video. I guarantee you'll find multiple interviews where you're a fan of the person. We've talked to so many terrific people, and Olivia's right there at the top of the list. So please check out the website. We'd appreciate that. Okay, so thank you guys. Thanks to Olivia. Till next time. Bye, everybody.